My name is Elias Grant. I am 72 years old, and I have spent the last 5 decades perfecting the art of being invisible. Not the kind of invisible that comes from weakness. No, the kind that comes from power so quiet, so absolute, that it hums beneath the skin of the world, and no one notices until it chooses to speak. Last night, my only daughter, Serena, pushed me down a marble staircase in front of her in-laws and called them her real parents. I bled on their imported Italian carpet. Not one of them moved to help. So, while they returned to their champagne and their laughter, I made one phone call. When Serena woke up this morning, she had 88 missed calls. Before I tell you what happens next, ask yourself, have you ever been underestimated so completely that the moment of revelation felt like the birth of a god? The dinner had been a slow suffocation from the moment I stepped into the penthouse. Serena and her husband, Victor Langford, lived in a glass tower that looked down on the city like a predator surveying prey. The floors were white marble veined with gold. The art on the walls, abstract slashes of color, cost more than most people's homes. The air smelled of money and fear. I was the only black man in the room who wasn't paid to be there. I wore my only good blazer, a navy wool piece I'd bought in London 30 years ago. It fit like a second skin. Serena's eyes flicked over me the way one might glance at a smudge on a window, something to be wiped away later. Victor's mother, Constance, raised her crystal flute of champagne, diamonds flashing like warning lights. "Elias," she said, voice syrupy with condescension, "this is a 1996 Dom Perignon. I do hope you can appreciate it. I know it's not your usual." I smiled the smile I had perfected over decades of boardrooms and backrooms. "Exquisite, Constance, though I prefer the 82, smoother finish." Victor barked a laugh. "Mom, be kind. Dad Grant likes his beer cold and his whiskey cheap, right, Elias?" Serena's gaze pleaded with me across the table. "Please, Dad, don't ruin this." She had forgotten who she was, the girl who used to dance in our kitchen to Aretha Franklin, barefoot and laughing. The girl who swore she'd never let money change her. Now she wore a dress that cost more than my first car and mirrored Constance's every gesture like a puppet on golden strings. The barbs came steady and sharp. Victor's father, Reginald, leaned in, cologne thick enough to choke a horse. "So, Elias." "Serena says you were in logistics." He said the word like it tasted bad. "Must have been tough. All that heavy lifting." "Something like that," I said quietly. "Global supply chain management." He chuckled, patting my hand. "Well, thank God you have Serena and Victor now. That pension can't stretch far." I nodded. "A blessing." Serena's laugh was high and brittle. "Oh, Dad, you're so funny. We take such good care of him, don't we, darling?" Victor grunted, scrolling his phone. They spoke of Aspen chalets and Tesla leases and the burden of taxes on their third home in the Hamptons. Every word was a blade designed to remind me of my place. I watched Serena become someone else. Someone who flinched when I used the wrong fork, who apologized for my existence with her eyes. When dinner ended, I stood slowly. "Serena, I'll head out." Her relief was a living thing. She walked me to the foyer, heels clicking like gunfire on marble. The internal staircase, 6 steps of pure white carpet, descended to the front door like a throne. "Dad," she hissed, "why were you so quiet? You made it awkward." Constance was just being polite about the wine. "I'm sorry you felt that way." She snapped, "Just hurry up. You're always so slow. You're embarrassing me. My in-laws are my real family now. Don't ruin this." Her hands hit my back, hard. Not a nudge, a shove. At 72, balance is a suggestion. My hand missed the rail. My foot missed the step. I fell. 6 steps, a lifetime. My glasses shattered. My head cracked against the wall. Blood bloomed hot and wet. I tasted iron. My hips screamed. The world tilted. I looked up. They stood at the top. Serena, Victor, Constance, Reginald. Silhouettes against the chandelier. No one moved. And they turned, walked away. Laughing echoed. I lay there, bleeding, broken, and awake. I lay there, bleeding, broken, and awake. They were wrong. They were wrong. I pulled myself up. My head spun. I limped to the elevator, pressed the button with a blood-smeared thumb. The doors closed on their laughter. In the lobby, I made the call. One call. To Miriam Kane, my attorney, my executor, my weapon. Miriam, I said, voice steady as steel. Activate Protocol Phoenix, effective immediately. She didn't ask questions. Confirmed, Mr. Grant. All accounts frozen. All trusts revoked. All assets transferred to your name alone. The Langfords will wake up to nothing. I hung up. I didn't go to a hospital. I went to the Ritz-Carlton Presidential Suite. The room was larger than their penthouse. Mahogany, silk, a view of the city like a king's. Dr. Harlan, my physician for 25 years, stitched my forehead with silk thread. Clean laceration, he murmured. You were lucky. I smiled. Luck had nothing to do with it. Across from me sat Miriam, sharp, black suit, files like armor. She slid a tablet across the table. Live feed, Serena's phone. 88 missed calls. Bank of America, Chase, American Express, the Penthouse Management, BMW Financial, Crestview Academy, and 20 from Dad. I watched Serena wake. She padded barefoot to the kitchen, tried to order groceries. Payment declined. Tried Victor's card. Payment declined. The landline rang. Ms. Langford, your $12,000 rent payment failed. Eviction proceedings begin at 5 p.m. Victor's BMW alert. Repossession in progress. Serena's Amex, suspended by primary cardholder. Crestview Academy, your son may not return until the $38,000 balance is settled. I watched her face collapse. She dialed my number. Disconnected. Dialed the house line. Voicemail. My voice. Hi, you've reached Elias. Leave a message. She screamed. Not fear. Recognition, because the truth was this. I wasn't a mailman. I was Elias Grant, former CEO of Grant Global Logistics, the silent empire that moved 40% of the world's cargo. I didn't retire. I walked away with $1.2 billion in liquid assets. The penthouse rent? I paid it. The BMW? I leased it. The Amex black cards? Mine. The tuition? The Aspen Chalet? Booked in my name. Serena had never asked. They all did. I stood at the window, city lights glittering like fallen stars. Miriam poured 2 fingers of 50-year Macallan. To revelations. I raised the glass to consequences, and I hadn't even begun. Because the fall down the stairs? That was just the opening act. The real show started now. Serena Langford stood barefoot in the middle of her glass-walled kitchen. The city glittering below like a cruel joke. The marble was cold against her soles, the same marble that had drunk my blood the night before. Her phone lay cracked on the counter, screen frozen on the last notification, account frozen, primary card holder. 88 missed calls. 20 from Dad. She had dialed my number 17 times in the last hour. Each time, disconnected. She had dialed the old house line until her thumb bled. Each time, voicemail. My voice, calm and cheerful, mocking her from a life she had erased. Victor stormed in, hair wild, eyes bloodshot from last night's Dom Perignon. What the hell is going on, Serena? His voice cracked, like cheap crystal. The BMW is gone. They towed it an hour ago, in front of the doorman. The doorman watched. Serena's laugh was brittle, hysterical. You think that's bad? The penthouse management just called. We have until 5 p.m. to pay $12,000, or they start eviction. Eviction, Victor. From our home. Victor grabbed her shoulders. Call your father. Tell him it was a mistake. Tell him we'll apologize. Tell him anything. I tried, she screamed. He's gone. The house is empty. His phone is dead. He's not answering. She stopped. Because the truth hit her like a second fall. He's not the man we thought he was. I watched it all from the Ritz-Carlton presidential suite, the feed streaming live on Miriam's tablet. Serena's face, pale, mascara streaked, mouth open in a silent scream. Victor pacing like a caged animal. Constance and Reginald arriving in a flurry of Hermes scarves and panic, demanding answers. Miriam sipped her coffee. Phase 2? I nodded. Begin. The second wave hit at 9:47 a.m. The penthouse intercom buzzed. Serena answered, voice trembling. Miss Langford, this is building security. We have a delivery for you. She opened the door. A courier in a crisp black uniform handed her a thick manila envelope. No return address. Just her name in my handwriting. She tore it open. Inside, a USB drive. A single photograph. Me, age 45, standing on the deck of a cargo ship, flying the Grant Global Logistics flag. A letter in my handwriting. Serena, you pushed me down the stairs. You called them your real parents. You bled me on your carpet and walked away. Now watch your world bleed. Play the drive. Elias. Victor snatched the USB, jammed it into their laptop. The screen lit up. A video. Me, sitting in the Ritz suite, bandage on my forehead, glass of Macallan in hand. Good morning, Serena. Victor. Constance. Reginald. By now you've noticed the accounts are frozen. The cards suspended. The cars repossessed. The rent unpaid. You assumed I was a mailman. You assumed I was broke. You assumed I needed you. Let me correct the record. I am Elias Grant, founder and former CEO of Grant Global Logistics, the company that moves 42% of the world's container cargo. I didn't retire. I walked away with $1.4 billion in liquid assets. The penthouse? I own the deed. The BMW? I leased it. The Amex black cards? Mine. The tuition for little Noah? Mine. The Aspen Chalet? Booked in my name. The wine you mocked me for not appreciating? I bought the vineyard. You have 6 hours to vacate the penthouse. Security will escort you. Your belongings will be boxed and sent to the address on file. Serena's childhood home. The one you haven't visited in 3 years. The one I still own. You want it to be Langford's. Now you'll learn what it's like to be nothing. E.g. The video ended. Silence. Then Constance screamed. He's bluffing. He's a mailman. Victor lunged for his phone. Called his bank. Account closed. Primary signatory. Elias Grant. Called his lawyer. Mr. Langford, your trust has been dissolved. All assets reverted to Elias Grant. Called the penthouse management. Sir, the deed transferred to Mr. Grant at 3:12 a.m. You are trespassing. Serena sank to the floor. She remembered the summers in our little house, me teaching her to ride a bike, her mother, Lillian, laughing as we grilled hot dogs in the backyard. She had erased it all. For this, at 10:15 a.m., the third wave. Security, 4 men in black suits. Ma'am, sir, you have 1 hour to vacate, per Mr. Grant's instructions. Constance tried to argue. This is our home. The lead guard handed her a document. Eviction notice effective immediately. Property owner, Elias Grant. Victor tried to bribe them. They didn't blink. At 10:47 a.m., the fourth wave. A moving truck pulled up. Movers in Grant Global Logistics uniforms. They began boxing everything. Designer dresses, Victor's watches, Noah's toys. Constance's jewelry, all of it logged, photographed, catalogued. Serena watched, numb, as her wedding dress was folded into a box labeled Sentimental, Return to Owner. At 11:03 a.m., fifth wave. A news alert pinged on Victor's phone. Langford family empire collapses. Heiress Serena Langford's father revealed as billionaire Elias Grant. Assets seized in shocking revenge plot. The article included photos. Me, age 50, shaking hands with presidents. Me, age 60, on the cover of Forbes. Me, last night, blood on my forehead, being carried out by private medics. Social media exploded. Hashtag Elias Grant. Hashtag Langford downfall. Hashtag wedding push revenge. Serena's phone buzzed. Her best friend. Is this true? Your dad is a billionaire? Her college roommate. You said he was a mailman. What the hell? Her boss. Serena, we need to talk. Your position is complicated. At 11:27 a.m., the sixth wave. The school called. Noah cannot return until the amended $42,000 balance is paid, effective immediately. The country club called. Membership revoked. Primary account, Elias Grant. The airline called. Aspen tickets canceled. Refund issued to Elias Grant. At 11:59 a.m., they were in the lobby. Suitcases. Boxes. Noah crying. The doorman who had watched the BMW towed held the door. No tip. No goodbye. They stood on the sidewalk. No car. No driver. Just the city. And the truth. I watched from the Ritz balcony. Miriam handed me a fresh tablet. Phase 3? I smiled. Let them feel it for 1 more hour. Because the real revenge wasn't the money. It was the mirror. The moment they saw themselves clearly and shattered. Serena Langford stood on the cracked sidewalk outside the glass tower that had once been her kingdom, clutching a single Louis Vuitton suitcase like a life raft. The morning sun glinted off the skyscrapers, but it felt cold. Victor paced beside her, phone to his ear, voice rising with every failed call. Constance and Reginald huddled together, whispering furiously, their designer coats suddenly looking cheap. Little Noah clung to Serena's leg, confused tears streaking his face. The moving truck pulled away, Grant Global Logistics emblazoned on the side like a taunt. The doorman had already turned his back. The city moved around them. Taxis honking, pedestrians staring, cameras flashing from across the street. The Langfords were no longer untouchable. They were spectacle. I watched from the Ritz-Carlton presidential suite. The live feed split across 3 screens. One showed Serena's face, pale, mascara running, eyes wide with the kind of fear that comes when the ground disappears. Another showed Victor's bank app, $0. The third showed social media. Hashtag Elias Grant, trending worldwide. Hashtag Langford downfall, at number 2. Miriam Kane sat across from me, legs crossed, tablet glowing. Phase 3 is live, she said. The press is eating it up. They want blood. I sipped my coffee. Blue Mountain, $200 a pound. Let them feast. At 12:03 p.m., the seventh wave hit. A black SUV pulled up to the curb. Not a rideshare. Not a taxi. A Grant Global Logistics vehicle. The driver, my driver, Marcus, stepped out, uniform crisp, cap low. He opened the back door. "Ms. Langford," he said, voice flat. "Mr. Grant has arranged transport." Serena blinked. Hope flickered. "Dad?" Marcus didn't answer. He gestured to the open door. Victor tried to climb in, first. Marcus blocked him. "One at a time. Mr. Grant's orders." Serena hesitated, then climbed in. The door closed. The SUV pulled away. Constance screamed. "Where are they taking her?" Marcus didn't look back. The SUV drove Serena across the city. Not to the Ritz, not to my old house, to Crestview Academy, Noah's school, the one that had just expelled him. The gates opened. Serena stepped out. The headmistress, Miss Harrow, waited on the steps, arms crossed. "Ms. Langford," she said, voice like ice, "your son's belongings." A cardboard box, Noah's crayons, his favorite dinosaur. A note in crayon, "I miss Daddy." Serena's hands shook. Miss Harrow continued. "Mr. Grant has paid the $42,000 balance. No one may return tomorrow, but you will never set foot on this campus again." Serena opened her mouth, closed it. The SUV door opened. Marcus gestured. "Back inside." Next stop, Langford and Sons Realty, Victor's family business. The building was locked. A sign on the door. Closed. Foreclosure. A man in a suit, my suit, handed Serena a folder. Inside, deed transfer. The building now belonged to Grant Global Logistics. Eviction notice. Victor's office cleared by 5 p.m. Press release. Langford and Sons acquired by Elias Grant in hostile takeover. All staff terminated. Serena's phone buzzed. A text from Victor. "They locked me out. My father's crying in the lobby." "What did you do?" She didn't reply. The SUV kept moving. Third stop. The vineyard at Willow Creek. The one Constance had bragged about. The one I owned. The gates were open. Workers in Grant Global Logistics shirts were harvesting grapes. The manager, Luis, greeted Serena. "Mr. Grant sends his regards. The vineyard is now under new management. Your mother's chalet has been converted to staff housing." Serena stared at the vines. Luis handed her a bottle. 1996 Dom Perignon. "Mr. Grant said you'd appreciate the irony." The SUV drove on. Fourth stop, Serena's childhood home. The little brick house in the suburbs. The one she hadn't visited in 3 years. The lawn was mowed, the porch light on. Marcus opened the door. Inside, her old bedroom, exactly as she left it. Posters of boy bands, stuffed animals. A photo on the nightstand. Serena, age 10, arms around me and Lillian, laughing at the county fair. A note in my handwriting. "Welcome home, Serena. This is what's left. This is what you threw away." Elias. She sat on the bed. The SUV left. At 1 p.m., the eighth wave. Victor, Constance, and Reginald were still on the sidewalk. A second SUV arrived. Same driver, same script. They were taken to the Langford building, Reginald's pride. Now flying the Grant Global Logistics flag, the lobby was empty. A single chair, a screen, my face. "Good afternoon, Langfords. By now you've seen the deeds, the accounts, the headlines. You called me a mailman. You laughed when I bled. You taught my daughter to be ashamed of me. Now learn what shame feels like. Your company is mine. Your home is mine. Your name is mud. You have 1 hour to collect your personal belongings from the penthouse. After that, the locks change. The cameras go live. The world watches. You wanted to be royalty. Now you're refugees. E.g. The screen went black. At 1:45 p.m., the 9th wave. The penthouse. Security let them in. Movers had already cleared the closets. Only the furniture remained. My furniture. Constance found her jewelry box. Empty. Victor found his watch collection. Gone. Reginald found his humidor. 1 cigar left. A note. Enjoy. It's the last you'll ever afford. They packed what they could into trash bags. Noah's toys, Serena's wedding album. The blood stain on the carpet, still there. A reminder. At 2:30 p.m., the 10th wave. The locks clicked. The elevators froze. The penthouse went dark. A single spotlight, a chair, a tablet. My face. You're watching this alone. Because you're the only one who matters. I raised you to be kind. I raised you to be strong. I raised you to be better. You chose them. You chose this. Your mother is gone. Your son will grow up without you. Your husband will leave you. Your in-laws will blame you. And you will remember. Every time you look at Noah, every time you walk past this tower, every time you see my name in the news, you will remember the night you pushed your father down the stairs. This is not punishment. This is truth. Elias. The tablet went dark. Serena sat in the spotlight. Alone. The city roared below. And for the first time in years, she cried. I closed the feed. Miriam poured another Macallan. Chapter 4. I smiled. Let her sit with it. Serena Langford sat alone in the darkened penthouse, the spotlight above her head carving a perfect circle of white on the marble floor. The blood stain from last night had dried into a rust-brown map of her betrayal. The tablet lay dead in her lap. My voice, Elias Grant, still echoed in her skull like a verdict from a god she had forgotten existed. Outside, the city screamed with sirens and camera flashes. News helicopters circled the tower like vultures. The Langfords were no longer people. They were content. I watched from the Ritz-Carlton war room. 3 walls of screens, Miriam at the helm, Dr. Harlan monitoring my vitals, Marcus standing guard at the door. The feed from the penthouse was crystal, Serena's shoulders shaking, her breath fogging the tablet screen, her wedding ring glinting as she twisted it like a noose. At 2:17 p.m., the 11th wave began. The penthouse lights flickered back on. The elevator dinged. Noah stepped out. 5 years old, backpack too big, dinosaur clutched to his chest. Behind him, Ms. Harrow, the headmistress. Serena stood. Noah? Ms. Harrow's voice was steel. Mr. Grant has enrolled Noah in a new school, effective immediately. You will see him once a week, supervised, at a location of Mr. Grant's choosing. Serena reached for her son. Noah stepped back. He didn't cry. He just looked at her, like she was a stranger. Ms. Harrow handed Serena a folder. Inside. Custody agreement, temporary, pending review. Visitation schedule, Saturdays 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Location, Grant Family Estate, a property Serena had never heard of. Condition, Serena must arrive alone. No Victor, no Langfords. Serena's scream was soundless. Noah was led back to the elevator. The doors closed. He didn't look back. At 2:31 p.m., the 12th wave. The penthouse intercom crackled. Victor's voice, frantic, from the lobby. Serena, they won't let us up. Security has dogs. They're boxing Dad's awards. Serena ran to the window. Below, moving trucks. Grant Global Logistics. Security, K9 units. Press, a mob. Constance, on her knees, begging a guard. Reginald, face purple, shouting into a dead phone. A banner unfurled from the roof. Langford Legacy, foreclosed by Elias Grant. Live on every network. At 2:45 p.m., the 13th wave. Serena's phone, now on 1% battery, buzzed. A video call. Lillian's face. Not alive. A deepfake. My creation. Lillian's voice. Soft, broken. Serena. My baby. Your father is dying. He's in surgery. The fall. It was worse than we thought. Internal bleeding. He asked for you. Only you. Come to St. Jude's Hospital. Room 412. Now. Serena grabbed her purse. Ran to the elevator. It didn't move. She pounded the button. Nothing. She took the stairs. 33 flights. Heels in hand. Tears streaming. She burst into the lobby. The press swarmed. Ms. Langford, is your father dying? Serena, did you push him? She fought through. Hailed a cab. St. Jude's, now. At 3:12 p.m., the 14th wave. The cab pulled up to St. Jude's. Serena ran inside. Room 412. Empty. A single chair. A screen. My face. Serena, your mother has been dead for 22 years. There is no surgery. There is no bleeding. There is only truth. You believed a lie because you wanted to. You wanted me gone. You wanted me weak. You wanted me dead. Now live with the echo. The screen went black. A nurse entered. Ma'am, this room is reserved for Mr. Grant's private use. You'll have to leave. Serena collapsed. The nurse called security. At 3:27 p.m., the 15th wave. Serena was back in the cab. Driver, Marcus. He didn't speak. He drove. To Grant Family Estate. A sprawling property outside the city. Gates of iron. Security with rifles. A mansion. Georgian brick, ivy. Serena had never seen it. She had never been invited. Marcus opened the door. Mr. Grant is waiting. Inside, portraits, me age 30, with world leaders. Trophies, shipping awards, Forbes covers. Photos, me and Lillian, young in love. Noah's room, already set up. Dinosaurs, books, a bed with Grant monogram sheets. Serena walked. To the library, floor-to-ceiling books, a fire roaring. Me, in a leather chair. Bandage gone. Suit perfect. Macallan in hand. Sit. She sat. Serena, you have one chance. One. Option A. You sign these papers. You divorce Victor. You take back your maiden name. Grant. You live here. You raise Noah. You work for Grant Global Logistics. Entry level. You earn every penny. You see me every day. You remember every day. Option B. You walk out. You keep the Langford name. You keep Victor. You keep nothing. Noah stays with me. You get $1,000 a month, alimony from a mailman. You never see me again. You never see Noah again. Choose. I slid the papers across the table. A pen. Montblanc. The one she gave me for Father's Day, 15 years ago. Serena stared. Her hands shook. She looked at the photos, at Noah's room, at me. She picked up the pen. Serena Langford's fingers hovered over the Mont Blanc pen like it was a loaded gun. The fire crackled behind her, throwing shadows across the library walls, where my life, Elias Grant's life, was framed in gold and mahogany. The choice hung in the air like smoke. Option A or Option B. A new life under my roof, my rules, my name, or exile with nothing but the ashes of the Langford name. Noah's laughter echoed faintly from upstairs. Already settled, already home. Serena's eyes darted to the sound, then back to the papers. The pen trembled. I leaned forward, voice low, steady, final. Clock's ticking, Serena. 5 minutes. She swallowed. The pen touched paper. She signed. Serena Grant, not Langford. Grant. I took the papers. Miriam appeared from the shadows, notarized them, slid them into a leather folder. Welcome home, I said. Serena's laugh was broken glass. This isn't home. This is prison. I smiled. No, prison has bars. This has consequences. At 3:47 p.m., the 16th wave. Victor, Constance, and Reginald were still in the lobby of their former tower, surrounded by trash bags and reporters. A final SUV arrived. Marcus again. He handed Victor an envelope. Inside, divorce papers, pre-signed by Serena. Restraining order. Victor to stay 500 feet from Noah and Serena. Bank statement. Victor's personal account. $47.32. One-way bus ticket to Scranton, PA, Reginald's hometown. A note. You wanted to be Langford's. Now be nothing. E.g. Victor screamed. Constance fainted. Reginald tried to bribe Marcus. Marcus walked away. At 4:03 p.m., the 17th wave. Serena was given a room, not the master, a guest room. Twin bed, one window, a uniform, Grant Global Logistics, folded on the chair. Entry level, mailroom. She laughed until she cried. At 4:17 p.m., the 18th wave. Noah ran in. Mommy! He hugged her. She held him like he might vanish. I stood in the doorway. Bedtime is 8 p.m. sharp. You read to him. You tuck him in. You earn it. She nodded. Tears on Noah's hair. At 4:31 p.m., the 19th wave. Dinner. The Grant family estate dining room. Long table. Crystal. Silver. Me. Serena. Noah. Miriam. Dr. Harlan. No Langfords. Serena served. Not as a guest. As staff. She poured water. Cleared plates. Noah watched, confused. Mommy, why are you working? Serena's smile cracked. Because I have to, baby. I ate in silence. Watched her hands shake. Watched her remember. At 5:03 p.m., the 20th wave. The news broke. Serena Langford signs divorce. Returns to father's empire. Langford family left penniless. Photos. Serena in the mailroom uniform. Victor on a Greyhound bus. Constance in a motel. Reginald selling his watch on eBay. Social media. Hashtag Serena Redemption. Hashtag Elias Grant God. Hashtag Langford Legacy Dead. At 5:17 p.m., the 21st wave. Serena's phone. New. Basic. Buzzed. A text from Victor. You bitch. You chose him. After everything. You learn. She looked up. How long? Until you remember who you are. At 6:03 p.m., the radio played. Billionaire Elias Grant takes custody of grandson, exiles in-laws to obscurity. At 6:17 p.m., the 24th wave. Serena's first night. She lay in the twin bed, staring at the ceiling. The house was silent, except for Noah's soft snores and the sound of her own heartbeat. I stood outside her door, listened. Serena walked the estate grounds, barefoot. The grass was soft. The air smelled of jasmine. She found the graveyard. Small. Private. Lillian Grant. Beloved wife. Devoted mother. 1962-2003. A bench. I watched from the balcony. Miriam beside me. She'll break, Miriam said. No, I replied. She'll rebuild. At 7:17 p.m., the 27th wave, Serena returned to the house. Found her old room, the one from childhood. Posters gone. Replaced with mailroom schedule, employee handbook, pay stub, $18 hour. A note. Day 1. And it. From Stephen. From AWK, she cried, but she folded the uniform. Set the alarm for 5:30 a.m. The 28th wave. Victor called from a payphone, left a voicemail. Serena, I'm in Scranton, with my parents, in a motel. You did this, you and your psycho father. I'll ruin you. Voicemail full. Deleted. At 8:03 p.m. A 29th wave. Proceed. The Langfords checked into Motel 6, 1 room, 2 beds. Constance slept in the tub. Reginald stared at the ceiling. Victor drank. The TV played. Elias Grant, the quiet king who toppled an empire with 1 phone call. At 8:17 p.m., the 30th wave. Serena stood in the kitchen. Made Noah's lunch. Peanut butter. No crusts. Apple slices. A note. Mommy loves you. I watched from the doorway. She didn't see me. She was trying. The first day was over. But the war had just begun. Because redemption isn't a moment. It's a marathon. And Serena had just taken her first step. Dawn broke over the Grant family estate like a verdict. The sky bled gold across the manicured lawns, the marbled fountain, the silent graveyard where Lillian's name still shimmered in dew. At 5:29 a.m., Serena Grant's alarm buzzed. Basic phone, cracked screen, $18 an hour life. She was already awake, hadn't slept. The twin bed felt like a coffin. Noah's soft breathing from the next room was the only thing keeping her from screaming. She slipped into the Grant Global Logistics uniform. Polyester, navy, name tag, S. Grant, and stared at herself in the mirror. The woman looking back was a ghost of the penthouse queen, hair in a tight bun, no makeup, eyes red from tears she refused to shed again. I watched from the security feed in my study. Miriam poured coffee. Dr. Harlan checked my blood pressure. Marcus loaded the car. Day 1, Miriam said. I nodded. Let's see if she shows up. At 5:55 a.m., the 31st wave began. Serena stepped into the kitchen. Noah sat at the table, legs swinging, cereal bowl half empty. A nanny, Clara, hired by me, smiled. Good morning, Miss Grant. Noah's ready. Serena knelt. Mommy has to go to work, baby. I'll see you after. Noah hugged her. Will you bring me a present? Her smile cracked. Every day. Marcus drove her. Not in the SUV. In a company van. Back seat. No music. Just the hum of the engine and the weight of silence. At 6:28 a.m., the 32nd wave. Grant Global Logistics Headquarters, a fortress of glass and steel on the waterfront. Serena walked through the employee entrance. Security scanned her badge. S. Grant, mailroom associate. The guard didn't smile. She took the freight elevator. Down. To the basement. The mailroom was a cavern of cardboard and conveyor belts. 50 workers, all in navy, all staring. Her supervisor, Mr. Delgado, ex-military, no nonsense, handed her a scanner. Grant, you sort, you deliver, you speak when spoken to. No exceptions. Serena nodded. First box. 2. Victor Langford, Scranton, PA. Contents. Divorce papers. Final copy. She froze. Delgado barked. Move it, Grant. She scanned, tossed it on the belt. It vanished into the system. At 7:03 a.m., the 33rd wave. Victor woke in the Motel 6. Constance snoring in the tub. Reginald on the floor. A knock. UPS. Package. He signed. Opened it. Divorce papers. Serena's signature. A post-it. You're free. So am I. Through the lamp. Constance woke. What now? Victor. She signed. Reginald laughed. Bitter. Broken. We're done. At 7:17 a.m., the 34th wave. What then? Victor. She signed. Reginald laughed. Bitter. Broken. We're done. The one who pushed him. She delivered a package to Miriam Kane. Miriam didn't look up. Just leave it, Grant. Serena did. The door closed in her face. At 7:31 a.m., the 35th wave. Social media exploded again. Hashtag Serena in the mailroom. Photos. Serena in uniform. Serena pushing a cart. Serena's face, pale, determined. Caption. From penthouse to postage. Elias Grant's revenge is art. At 8:03 a.m., the 36th wave. Serena's lunch break. Employee cafeteria. Plastic tray. Mystery meat. She sat alone. A janitor, Mrs. Lopez, sat across. You're the daughter. Serena nodded. Mrs. Lopez. My son works in shipping. Says your dad saved his life. Gave him a job when no one else would. You hurt him bad. Serena's voice cracked. I know. Mrs. Lopez left. At 8:17 a.m., the 37th wave. Victor tried to sell his watch. Pawn shop. Owner. Fake, $20. Victor. It's a Patek. Owner. Was. Now it's plastic. Victor walked out with $20 and a broken ego. At 8:31 a.m., the 38th wave. Serena back in the mailroom. A package addressed to her. From Noah. Inside, a drawing. Stick figures. And inside, Grandma is proud. A note in Clara's handwriting. He asked me to send this. He loves you. In the bathroom. Alone. Spirits. Delgado nodded at me. She was sorting. Fast. Accurate. Delgado nodded at me. She's good. I said nothing. Left. At 9:17 a.m., the 40th wave. Constance tried to check into a shelter. Denied. No ID, no references. She slept in the park. Reginald sold his shoes. Victor applied at Wendy's. Experience. I owned a realty firm. Start tomorrow, $12 an hour. At 10:03 a.m., the 41st wave. S. Grant, mailroom lead. Delgado, you're fast, you're quiet, you're learning. Keep it up. She nodded. He handed her a new badge. $22 per hour. Day 1. At 10:17 a.m., the 42nd wave. Knocked, entered. I sat behind the desk. S. Grant, mailroom lead. She placed the package. Our eyes met. I didn't either. She left. At 11:03 a.m., the 43rd wave. Noah's new school. Grant Academy. Private, elite, free for employees' kids. He waved from the playground. Serena watched from the van. Marcus, 5 minutes. She cried. Silently. At 11:17 a.m., the 44th wave. Victor's first shift. Wendy's. Greece. Teenagers laughing. A customer. Aren't you that rich guy? Victor. Fries with that. At 12:03 p.m., the 45th wave. Serena's first paycheck. $836. She held it like gold. Went to the estate bank. Deposited it. Balance $836. She smiled. Small. Real. At 12:17 p.m., the 46th wave. I met her in the library. You earned it. She nodded. I know. I slid a folder. Phase 2, accounting training. Starts Monday. She took it. Thank you. First time. At 1:03 p.m., the 47th wave. The Langfords Motel evicted them. No payment. They slept in the pickup. Reginald's brother. 1 week. Then you're out. At 1:17 p.m., the 48th wave. Serena tucked Noah in. Read The Little Prince. He fell asleep. She whispered, I'll never leave you again. At 2:03 p.m., the 49th wave. Serena stood on the balcony. Watched the sunset. The city glittered. Not hers anymore, but hers again, slowly. The Grant family estate slept under a moon so bright it turned the gravel path silver. It was 2:14 a.m. 6 weeks after Serena Grant's first day in the mailroom. She stood barefoot in the kitchen, the only light coming from the open refrigerator door. A half-eaten peanut butter sandwich on the counter. A glass of water trembling in her hand. The house was silent, except for the low hum of the security system and the distant tick of the grandfather clock in the hall. She wore the same Grant Global Logistics t-shirt she'd fallen asleep in. $18 per hour life. Now $24 per hour, after 2 promotions. Her name tag lay on the table. S. Grant, accounting trainee. I watched from the study feed. Miriam was asleep. Dr. Harlan on call. Marcus on patrol. Serena didn't know the cameras were live. She thought she was alone. She opened the fridge again. Took out a bottle of 1996 Dom Perignon. The one from the vineyard. The one I'd left there on purpose. She stared at the label. Her reflection in the glass door. Thin, tired, real. She put it back. Closed the door. Whispered, not yet. At 2:27 a.m., the 50th wave began. Serena walked the halls. Past Noah's room, door cracked, nightlight glowing. Past the gallery, photos of me, shaking hands with presidents, kings, CEOs. Past the library, where she'd signed her life away. She stopped at Lillian's portrait. Her mother. Young, laughing, eyes like Serena's. She touched the frame. I'm trying, she whispered. The portrait didn't answer. At 2:41 a.m., the 51st wave. Serena went to the basement gym. Treadmill. 3 miles. No music. Just breath. Sweat. Memory. She ran until her legs burned. Until the penthouse, the push, the blood, all blurred into one long exhale. At 3:03 a.m., the 52nd wave. She showered. Cold water. Scrubbed until her skin was raw. Put on fresh scrubs. Went to Noah's room. Sat on the floor. Watched him sleep. His dinosaur under one arm. Her photo under the other. She cried. Quiet. Controlled. Earned. At 3:37 a.m., the 53rd wave. I entered. Silent. Stood in the doorway. She didn't flinch. Just looked up. Couldn't sleep? I asked. She shook her head. Too much, everything. I nodded, sat on the rocking chair. The one Lillian used to use. We sat in silence. Father, daughter. Strangers. Rebuilding a bridge with toothpicks. At 3:31 a.m., the 54th wave. Serena spoke first. I found the letters. I raised an eyebrow. In the attic. The ones Mom wrote you when you were building the company. She said, don't let them make you hard. Don't let them make you forget why you started. I closed my eyes. She was right. Serena's voice cracked. I forgot. I let them. I let me. I opened my eyes. You're remembering now. She nodded. Slow. Painful. At 4:03 a.m., the 55th wave. Victor Langford woke in the Scranton trailer park. Constance gone, left with a trucker. Reginald in jail, public intoxication. Victor alone. A letter under the door. From Serena. Handwritten, Victor. I don't hate you. I pity you. You never knew who I was. You never wanted to. Noah asks about you. I tell him you're far away. One day he'll forget. I already have. If S.G. He burned it in the sink, watched the flames die. At 4:17 a.m., the 56th wave. Serena stood in the mailroom, off hours. No one there. She practiced. Accounting software. Spreadsheets. Numbers. Like her mother. She whispered formulas. Assets minus liabilities. Her voice steady. Growing. At 5:03 a.m., the 57th wave. Sunrise. Serena made breakfast. Eggs. Toast. Orange juice. Noah ran in. Mommy, you're up early. She smiled. Real. I have to be. For you. At 5:17 a.m., the 58th wave. I joined them. Noah climbed into my lap. Grandpa, will Mommy be rich again? I looked at Serena. She answered, no, baby, but we'll be happy. Noah nodded, like it made sense. At 6:03 a.m., the 59th wave. Serena's accounting exam. 98%. Delgado promoted her. Junior accountant. $32 per hour. She cried in the bathroom. Happy tears. At 6:17 a.m., the 60th wave. Victor's Wendy's shift. A kid spit in his face. He quit. Walked out. No plan. No future. At 7:03 a.m., the 61st wave. Serena delivered her first report. To my office. Knocked, entered. Placed it on the desk. Q3 projections. S. Grant. I read it. Flawless. She stood. Waiting. I looked up. Good work. She smiled. Small. Earned. At 7:17 a.m., the 62nd wave. News alert. Serena Grant excels in father's company. From mailroom to boardroom in 6 weeks. Hashtag redemption arc. Hashtag Elias Grant legacy. At 8:03 a.m., the 63rd wave. Serena took Noah to school. Grant Academy. Dropped him off. Kissed his forehead. He ran inside. She watched. Didn't cry. At 8:17 a.m., the 64th wave. I called her into the boardroom. 12 executives. All men. All older. All mine. Gentlemen, I said. This is Serena Grant. At 9:03 p.m., the 65th wave. The 66th wave. Victor tried to call. Blocked. He showed up at the estate gates. Marcus turned him away. No visitors. Victor screamed. Left in a rideshare. $47 left. At 10:03 a.m., the 67th wave. Serena found Lillian's old desk. In the attic. Opened it. Inside, journals, photos. A letter. To Serena. If you ever forget who you are, come home. The numbers will wait. Love always, Mom. Serena read it. Folded it. Put it in her pocket. At 10:17 a.m., the 68th wave. I gave her Lillian's old office. 3rd floor. Window view. Nameplate S. Grant, financial analyst. She cried, in private. At 11:03 a.m., the 69th wave. Serena's first solo meeting. With clients. Japanese investors. She spoke. They nodded. Deal closed. $42 million. I watched from the back, didn't speak. She didn't need me to. At 11:17 a.m., the 70th wave. The world forgot the Langfords. Victor, missing. Constance, waitress in Reno. Reginald, AA meetings. No one cared. At 12:03 p.m., the 71st wave. Serena ate lunch with Mrs. Lopez. They laughed. About nothing. About everything. At 12:17 p.m., the 72nd wave. Noah drew a picture. My family. 3 stick figures. Grandpa, Mommy, me, no one else. At 1:03 p.m., the 73rd wave. Serena stood on the balcony, watched the sunset. The city hers again, not with money, with work, with love, with truth. I joined her. We didn't speak, just stood. Father, daughter, whole. The war was over. The rebuilding had just begun. The Grant family estate stood wrapped in late autumn fog, the kind that swallowed sound and turned the world into a watercolor. It was November 11th, 2025, exactly 1 year since Serena Langford had pushed me down those marble stairs. The anniversary had not been marked on any calendar, yet every soul in the house felt it in their bones. The grandfather clock in the hall struck midnight with a single, solemn chime. Serena Grant, no longer Langford, stood on the widow's walk, the highest balcony, wind tearing at her hair. She wore a simple wool coat, Grant Global Logistics, embroidered on the chest in small navy thread. Her hands gripped the iron rail. Below, the estate lights flickered like low stars. Noah slept inside. I stood in the shadows behind her, unseen. She spoke first, voice soft, carried away by the wind. 1 year, Dad. 1 year since I tried to kill you. I stepped forward. You didn't try to kill me, Serena. You tried to kill us. The version of us that didn't fit your new life. She turned, eyes wet, but steady. I know the difference now. At 12:03 a.m., the 74th wave began. A single envelope slid under the estate's front door. Marcus retrieved it, brought it to me. No return address. My handwriting. Inside, 1 photograph. Serena, age 7, on my shoulders at the county fair. Cotton candy in both hands. 1 key, brass, old, engraved LG 2003. 1 note. Serena, the war is over. The rebuilding is complete. This key opens the Lillian Grant Foundation vault. Everything I built. Everything your mother dreamed. Now yours. Use it. Or burn it. Your choice. Elias. I handed it to her on the balcony. She stared. At this point, the key cold in her palm. The 76th wave. The screen lit. Lillian's face. Not deepfake. Real footage. Recorded 2003, before the cancer. Serena, if you're watching this, your father did it. He kept the promise. He kept you. This vault isn't money. It's legacy. Use it to lift, not to lord. Love always. Mom. Serena sank into the chair, hands over her mouth. Noah stirred. Mommy? She pulled him into her lap, held him tight. At 1:03 a.m., the 77th wave. Serena stood, walked to the ledger, opened it. Last page. To Serena Grant, when you're ready, write the next chapter. She took the pen, wrote, Chapter 1, the Lillian Grant Foundation, Education, Housing, Hope, for every child who ever felt small. Signed, CEO. Dash. I smiled. First time in a year. The 78th wave. We left the vault. Doors sealed behind us. Biometric lock, Serena's print only. The empire was hers. Not inherited. Earned. At 1:31 a.m., the 79th wave. Back at the estate. Serena carried Noah to bed, tucked him in, kissed his forehead, stood in the doorway, watched him sleep, then walked to my study, knocked, entered. Dad. I looked up. She placed the key on the desk. I don't need it anymore. I nodded. She continued. I'm keeping the name Grant. I'm keeping Noah. I'm keeping me. But I'm giving you something back. She slid a folder. Inside, resignation letter, Serena Grant, CEO, Lillian Grant Foundation. Appointment letter, Elias Grant, Chairman Emeritus. One check, $1 million, from her personal account. Note, for the man who taught me that falling is just the first step to flying. Love, your daughter. I took the check, tore it in half. You keep it, build something bigger. She smiled. Real, whole. At 2:03 a.m., the 80th wave. Serena stood on the widow's walk again, alone. The fog had lifted, stars sharp. She opened her phone, typed a message. To Victor, Constance, Reginald. One text sent to all. I forgive you. Not for you. For me. Goodbye. She blocked them. Deleted the thread. Turned off the phone. At 2:17 a.m., the 81st wave. I joined her. We stood side by side. No words. Just breath. The estate below. The world beyond. Ours. Not with money. With truth. At 3:03 a.m., the 82nd wave. Serena went to Lillian's grave. Knelt. Placed the torn check halves on the stone. Whispered, "We did it, Mom." The wind carried it away. At 3:17 a.m., the 83rd wave. Victor Langford sat in a Greyhound station. Ticket to nowhere. He opened his phone. Saw the text. Goodbye. He closed it, boarded the bus, disappeared. At 4:03 a.m., the 84th wave. Serena slept. First time in a year. Deep. Dreamless. Free. At 5:03 a.m., the 85th wave. Sunrise. Noah ran into her room. "Mommy, it's foundation day." She laughed, pulled him close. "Yes, baby, it is." At 6:03 a.m., the 86th wave. The Lillian Grant Foundation launched. A $1.4 billion endowment. 10,000 scholarships. 500 homes for single mothers. One mission. Lift the invisible. Press conference. Serena at the podium. S. Grant, CEO. She spoke. Not of revenge. Of redemption. Of family. Of falling and rising. I stood in the back. Clapped. Quietly. At 7:03 a.m., the 87th wave. The world moved on. Elias Grant, heir. Noah Grant, future. The Langfords gone. Not dead. Forgotten. At 8:03 a.m., the 88th wave, and walked the grounds. Noah between us, holding both hands. He looked up. "Grandpa, are we rich?" I knelt. "We're richer than money, Noah. We're together." Serena smiled, tears in her eyes, but not from pain, from peace. The story didn't end with a fall. It ended with a family, whole, healed, unbreakable. And somewhere in the quiet of the estate, the grandfather clock chimed once more. Not a warning, a beginning. The Grant family estate glowed under a winter moon, frost glittering on the ivy like scattered diamonds. It was December 24th, 2025, 6 weeks after Serena Grant had taken the helm of the Lillian Grant Foundation. The house smelled of pine and cinnamon. Clara had strung lights. Noah had hung paper snowflakes. And the grandfather clock in the hall wore a red bow like a proud old man. At 11:42 p.m., Serena stood in the great room, barefoot in flannel pajamas, staring at the Christmas tree. A single ornament hung front and center, a tiny brass key on a ribbon, the one I'd given her in the vault. She touched it, smiled. I watched from the doorway, cane in hand. My hip still grumbled in cold weather, but the stitches were long gone. Noah slept upstairs, Dinosaur under his pillow. Marcus patrolled the grounds. Miriam had gone home to her own family. Dr. Harlan dozed in the guest wing. The house was quiet, but not empty. It was full. Serena turned. "Dad, you're up." "Old men don't sleep on Christmas Eve," I said. She laughed. Soft, real, Lillian's laugh. She walked to the fireplace, picked up a wrapped box. Small, heavy. "Your turn." I raised an eyebrow. She handed it over. I opened it. Inside, one ledger, leather-bound, new, one pen, Mont Blanc, the same one from the library. One note. "Okay, Dad, you gave me the empire. Now I give you freedom. Write your story. Not the billionaire, not the mailman. You. Merry Christmas. S." I stared. The ledger was blank, waiting. At 11:47 p.m., the 89th wave began. Serena led me to the library. The fire roared. 2 chairs, 2 mugs of cocoa. She sat. I sat. She opened her laptop. Live feed. Scranton, PA. A small church. Midnight Mass. In the back pew, Victor Langford. Alone. Clean-shaven. Wearing a Wendy's polo under a thrift store coat. He held a candle. Didn't sing. Just stared at the flame. Serena's voice was steady. "He's been going every week. AA, church, therapy. He asked about Noah. I said no. But I didn't block him this time." I nodded. "Mercy isn't weakness." She smiled. Mom's words. At 11:52 p.m., the 90th wave. The doorbell rang. Marcus opened it. Constance Langford. Not the diamond-dripping queen. A woman in a Walmart coat, hair gray, face bare. She held a shoebox. Marcus looked at me. I nodded. He let her in. Constance stood in the foyer, shivering. Serena walked out. They stared, no words. Constance opened the box. Inside, one sapphire earring, the mate to the one Serena had worn at her wedding. One photo, Serena and Constance at the bridal shower, laughing. One letter. Serena, I was cruel. I was small. I lost everything, but I found regret. This earring was your mother's. She lent it to me. I never gave it back. Now I am. I don't ask forgiveness. I ask space to be better. See. Serena took the earring, pinned it to the tree, next to the key. Constance cried. Serena hugged her. Not warm, not cold, human. At 11:57 p.m., the 91st wave. Reginald Langford appeared on the doorstep, carrying a tool belt. He'd been working construction. Hands calloused, eyes clear. He held a wooden toy truck, hand-carved, for Noah. He didn't speak, just placed it under the tree, backed away. Marcus closed the door. At 12 a.m., Christmas, the clock chimed, 12 bells. Noah ran downstairs in dinosaur pajamas. Presents. Serena lifted him. We sat by the tree. He opened the truck. Look, Grandpa, it's like your big ships. I laughed. Serena handed him a box. Inside, a tiny mailroom uniform. N. Grant, future CEO. He squealed. At 12:03 a.m., the 92nd wave. Serena turned on the TV. CNN. X. Breaking news. First, it was Serena speaking to Lydia. Her voice communicated. This isn't charity. It's correction for every child who ever felt invisible. I wrote the first line. I was never the billionaire. I was Serena's father, and that was always enough. At 12:31 a.m., the 94th wave. Serena took Noah to bed. Read, "'Twas the night before Christmas." He fell asleep mid-sentence. She kissed his forehead, came back downstairs, sat with me. We opened the 1996 Dom Perignon, poured 2 glasses, toasted, to second chances. Clink. At 1:03 a.m., the 95th wave. The estate lights dimmed. Just the tree, just the fire, just us. Serena leaned her head on my shoulder, like she did when she was 7. I didn't move. At 1:17 a.m., the 96th wave. A final envelope slid under the door. Marcus brought it. From Victor. Inside, 1 AA chip. 6 months sober. 1 drawing. Noah's from school. Stick figure family. Grandpa, mommy, daddy. Victor had added himself in pencil. Small, in the corner. 1 note. Serena, I don't deserve a place, but I'm earning space. If Noah ever asks, tell him his dad is trying. V. Serena folded it, placed it in the ledger, next to my line. At 2:03 a.m., the 97th wave. We stood on the widow's walk. Snow began to fall. Soft, silent. The city slept below. Serena spoke. I used to think power was taking. Now I know it's giving. I nodded. Lillian's numbers. Your heart. Our legacy. At 3:03 a.m., the 98th wave. Serena went to the vault. Alone. Opened it with her print. Added a new ledger. The Invisible Project. First entry. December 25th, 2025. $1 billion pledged. Goal: end child hunger in 50 countries by 2030. She signed. S. Grant, CEO and daughter. At 4:03 a.m., the 99th wave. I wrote in my ledger. The fall was the beginning. The rise was the point. The family was the prize. At 5:03 a.m., the 100th wave. Dawn. Snow blanketed the estate. Noah woke. Ran to the window. Grandpa, Mommy, it's Narnia. Serena laughed. I joined them. We built a snowman. 3 balls, carrot nose, scarf from my old blazer. Noah named him Mailman Max. At 6:03 a.m., the final wave. The world woke to headlines. Grant family redefines wealth, love, legacy, and a second chance. Photos. Serena and Noah in the snow. Me, smiling, cane in one hand, Noah's mittened hand in the other. The tree, glowing, with a key and earring side by side. Serena looked at me. It's not revenge anymore. I smiled. It never was. It was redemption. The snow fell. The clock chimed. The family stood together. Whole. Healed. Unbreakable. And somewhere, in the quiet of a Scranton church, Victor Langford lit a candle. For hope. The story didn't end with a push. It ended with a hand. Reaching. Holding. Healing. Merry Christmas, Serena. Merry Christmas, Noah. Merry Christmas, world. The Grant legacy wasn't money. It was mercy. And it began again. Every day. With love. The Grant family estate stood silent under a sky so clear, the Milky Way spilled across it like spilled milk. It was December 31st, 2025, 11:45 p.m. PKT. Exactly 1 year, 1 month, and 20 days since Serena Grant had pushed me down those marble stairs and called the Langfords her real parents. The world had spun forward. The snow had melted. The foundation had grown. And tonight, the estate was dark except for one light, the widow's walk. Serena stood there, in a long black coat, the sapphire earring glinting in her ear, the brass key on a chain around her neck. Noah slept below. I stood beside her, cane gone, hip healed, heart whole. She spoke first, voice soft against the wind. 1 year, Dad. 1 year since I broke us. I looked at the city lights below. Our city now. You didn't break us, Serena. You bent us, and we grew back stronger. She smiled. Lillian's smile. My smile. Ours. At 11:47 p.m., the 101st wave began. A single drone rose from the estate lawn. Grant Global Logistics logo glowing. It carried a banner. Unfurled above the house, the Grant legacy from fall to forever, 2025. Fireworks followed. Silent, gold, blue, white. Noah's favorite colors. He watched from his window, dinosaur in hand, mouth open in wonder. At 11:49 p.m., the 102nd wave. Serena's phone buzzed. Live global feed. 1.2 billion viewers. CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, Geo News, ARY, PTV, all carrying the same headline. Serena Grant to announce largest humanitarian pledge in history. She pressed live. The drone camera turned to her. She spoke, not to the world, to us. Tonight, the Lillian Grant Foundation pledges $10 billion over the next decade. Clean water, schools, hospitals, homes. For every child who ever felt small. This isn't charity. This is correction. For every father pushed downstairs, for every mother forgotten, for every family broken and rebuilt. We are Grant. We lift. The world roared. Our legacy. Our Serena speaks. Trending in every language. At 11:52 p.m., the 103rd wave. A second drone. This one carried a box. Landed on the widow's walk. Serena opened it. Inside, one ledger, the original from the vault. One pen, the Mont Blanc. One photo, me, Lillian, Serena, age 3 on my shoulders at the county fair. One note in Noah's handwriting. Grandpa, Mommy says you're a superhero. I drew you flying. Love, Noah Grant, future CEO. Stick figure me with a cape made of shipping containers. Serena laughed through tears, pinned it to the sky with the drone. It flew over the city. A beacon. At 11:55 p.m., the 104th wave. The estate gates opened. One car. Victor Langford. Not in a Wendy's polo. In a suit. Clean, sober, 18 months. He stepped out, hands open. No words. Marcus let him through. He walked to the widow's walk, stood 10 feet away. Serena looked at me. I nodded. Victor spoke. Voice rough. I don't ask to come back. I ask to witness. Noah deserves to know his father tried. Serena walked to him, placed the toy truck, Reginald's gift in his hands. Noah kept it. He asks about you. Sundays, supervised, earned. Victor cried, nodded, backed away, left. At 11:58 p.m., the 105th wave. Constance and Reginald appeared on the live feed. From Reno, in a small apartment. Constance held a certificate, culinary arts graduate. Reginald held a tool belt. Foreman, Langford Construction, rebuilt. They spoke together. We were wrong. We are better. Thank you, Serena. Thank you, Elias, for showing us falling is not the end. The world clapped. I held her. Like the day she was born, the 106th wave. Serena turned to me. Daddy, First time in 20 years. She hugged me. Like the day Lillian died. Like now. January 1st, 2026. The world erupted. Fireworks. Cheers. 1.2 billion voices. Serena raised the ledger. The drone broadcast it. The grant pledge, $10 billion for humanity. She signed it. S. Grant, CEO, daughter, mother. I sign below. E. Grant, father, founder, forever. Noah ran up, added his name in crayon. N. Grant, future. At 12:03 a.m., the 107th wave. The estate lights blazed. Every room, every window, a beacon. Clara opened the doors. Staff, foundation scholars, single mothers, orphans, all Grant. They filled the great room, sang Auld Lang Syne. Noah led, off-key, perfect. At 12:17 a.m., the 108th wave. Serena took the microphone. To the world, to us. This isn't the end. This is chapter 1 of a story written by falling, rising, loving. We are Grant. We are family. We are hope. The feed cut. The drones landed. The estate went dark, except the tree. As still glowing. Still glowing. 1. As still glowing. Siren and I stood on the widow's walk. Noah between us. He held both our hands. Look, he said. A shooting star. Noah closed his eyes. I wish we stay like this. I looked at Serena. She looked at me. I looked at Serena. She looked at me. I looked at me. We didn't wish. We knew. Some 2:03 a.m. The final wave. The ledger, my ledger, open on the balcony table. I wrote the last line. The push was the spark. The fall was the forge. The family was the fire. And it burns eternal. Father, forever. Serena added below. And the daughter learned. Power is not taking. It is giving. It is home. Serena Grad daughter. Forever. Legacy. Love. From a fall to forever. The end. The beginning.